Flight Dreams, a Mark Manning mystery, Book 1. Author, Michael Kraft. Publisher, Open Road Integrated Media, New York. Narrator, Eric Ost. A couple of hours later in Chicago, Roxanne gulps coffee from a mug at the table in Manning's loft. She wanted for them to meet. It's imperative before the afternoon court session. So Manning invited her to his home, since the office would surely be chaotic today. She slaps a folder closed and tosses it atop one of several stacks of files on the table. "Please be aware," she tells him, "that you could be in bigger trouble than Humphrey Hastings if Judge Ambrose holds you in contempt." Manning isn't listening. He's busy unwrapping an oblong parcel, a 3-foot tube that has just been delivered to his door. She continues, "Your elusive testimony about Helena Carter yesterday made great headlines, but I'm afraid you're going to find yourself in some very hot water because of it." He's got it open. Clumsily, working with only one good arm, he pulls out a roll of papers that springs open on the kitchen counter, smelling distinctly of ammonia. He grabs various cooking utensils to anchor the curled corners. It's a set of architect's blue line prints. The top page is a floor plan vaguely familiar but largely meaningless to Manning. A cryptic profusion of symbols and lines with overlapping arrows that mark dimensions. He turns to the second sheet, a similar plan, probably another level of the same building. He pages through more of these technical drawings, and then a sequence of elevations that look like walls, and finally a perspective, a detailed colored rendering of a large interior space drawn three-dimensionally. Manning turns the page and finds another perspective, as if looking at the same room from its opposite corner. Glancing up from the drawings and into his unfinished loft, the plan suddenly makes sense. He has his bearings. Roxanne says, "Mark, this is important, and you haven't heard a word. What on earth is so interesting over there?" "Christmas gift from Neil." His nose is buried again in the plans. "Oh!" She rises from the table to join him, looking over his shoulder. "Can you believe it?" he says, more to himself than to Roxanne. "Neil has been here only once, and he knew I was at a loss for ideals for the place, but just look at this." The empty, boxy loft space has been transformed into a sculptural network of platforms and balconies, creating a complex interplay of masses and voids, while the overall composition of the room is boldly artful. This has not been achieved at the expense of function, for the distinct areas of space are thoughtfully suited to their various purposes: conversation, reading and writing, sleeping and bathing, cooking and eating, storage. Though the aesthetic is decidedly modern, the effect is neither stark nor sterile. On the contrary, rich, detailing, and knowledgeable, playful allusions to styles of the past lend an inviting, livable atmosphere to the design. Even the Clarence bird painting is sketched on a prominent expanse of wall, where it appears comfortably at home. Roxanne says, "God, Mark, it's fabulous." "Maybe a little too fabulous. How could I possibly build this?" He flips through the final sheets of the plan, where there are detailed drawings of cabinetry, trim, and light fixtures, all custom, followed by a materials list that includes granite and beveled glass. Reporters aren't that well paid. Then at the bottom of the last page, he spots a yellow post-it note. In Neil's forceful hand, it says, "Together, I'll bet we could swing it." Manning freezes, stares at the note, reads it several times, catches his breath. Then he realizes that Roxanne has also seen it, and he turns to face her, braced for the worst. "Congratulations," she says quietly without inflection. "Or should I say, much happiness." One tries to be politically correct, but the protocol of these modern relationships isn't quite hammered out yet. Manning can't read her tone. The words are genial enough, but their sarcastic edge is ominous. He suspects she's ready to blow. Roxanne, Mark, she stops him. I'm over it. A pause of relief, he takes her fingers into his hand. I'm sorry you were hurt. I never meant to lead you on. You didn't. I was playing with fire, and I knew it. My passions were real enough. You're a hot man, Mark. But the booze had me out of control. I was tempted to say something, Manning tells her. I wish I had, but it was ultimately something I had to deal with myself. I binged on Thanksgiving and screwed up royally with a client after the long weekend. That's when I knew I had to stop. I'm doing much better now, but withdrawal was a bitch. Tell me about it. I haven't had a cigarette in 6 days. Neil never said anything about my smoking, but I was sure he didn't like it. So I decided to quit because of him. Then I realized I was doing it for myself. Good boy, she tells him. Hang in there. That's next on my list, but one vice at a time. They share a laugh of understanding. Roxanne's tone turns loyally. Now that we've cleared the air, let me make my stand on one particular matter perfectly clear. She can't suppress a smile. If you ever decide you're tired of guys, Mark, do let me know. You'll be first on my list, he kisses her. It's not passionate, but sufficiently physical to rekindle in her a momentary pang. Fanning her lips with her hand, she says, We'd better get back to business, and returns to the table. He follows, saying coyly, As long as we're bearing souls, can I trust you with some highly relevant but confidential information? She eyes him askance, intrigued. Her look tells him, Well, let's have it. He sits, facing her directly. He says, My speech in court yesterday about Helena Carter, the elusive testimony that has you so worried, is all true. I had a long talk with her last week, just outside of Phoenix. Roxanne says nothing. Her unwavering stare suggests that she can't decide whether to believe him. He pulls a business card from his wallet and shows it to her, saying, She signed this for me. That's her phone number. Want to call her and say hello? Roxanne studies the card, suspicious. I don't get it. If you've actually found her, why don't you just turn her in and be done with it? Let me start at the beginning. Manning pauses, takes a deep breath, and carefully recounts the whole story. From the point when he arrives in Phoenix for Christmas, sees Brother Bert on TV, then Miss Viola's Abyssinian kitten, which leads him to assumption. Father McMullen, and ultimately the missing heiress. He concludes by explaining his pact with Mrs. Carter, her full cooperation on an exclusive story in exchange for his temporary silence. What I don't understand, says Roxanne, trying to sort through the details, is the motive of the priest, her brother. Why would he get messed up with all this? The contents of Carter's will are widely known. There's nothing in it for him or his band of reactionaries. That's exactly what threw me, of course, at first, but when I finally talked to Helen, I learned that she has signed a new will, drawn up with Father McMullen, leaving nearly everything to the society and zilch to the Chicago Archdiocese. When Helen is declared dead tomorrow, McMullen plans to present the second will and collect the loot, allowing Helen to live out her remaining years in blissful anonymity. With instant comprehension of the legal thicket described by Manning, Roxanne blurts, But that's absurd! Both wills would be moot since the second one was written after she disappeared. It would prove that she had not died. Unless, of course, they produce a body with the document, and Roxanne stops short. She and Manning stare at each other, realizing that Helen is in danger. Manning grabs the business card, rushes to the phone, and dials Helen's number. There is no answer. He tries calling Neil. The phone rings and rings. Manning glances at his watch. It's barely 8 o'clock in Phoenix, and Neil doesn't go to the office till 9. Where is he? What's he doing? After a dozen rings, Manny replaces the receiver, feeling the unmistakable welling up of an emotion that has played till now no role in his life. What else? He asked himself, guessing a likely answer. What else would Neil be doing away from the house so early in the morning? A Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold: to offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides, and in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.